Ernest, you have something statement?
Hello. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. Just like to point out, kasi I think there's been, I should say, hype about one chapter of one volunteer organization of the more than dozens, almost probably 50, 60 volunteer organizations that comprise the whole those who are helping Mayor Isko Moreno. So one chapter leaving was hyped to ang iba yung headline saying that I am Pilipinas left, no? The whole group. But in fact, I received messages a few days ago that some chapters will not go with their conveners. May nag-message sa akin from Rizal, may nag-message sa akin from Zambales, NCR, and other provinces, even in Mindanao, that they will not join yung iba nilang conveners if and when they decide to go to another camp. Aside from that, when Isko, he was in a 2-day swing in the Zamboanga Peninsula, he also gained some support from different organizations such as Sambasulta Isko Kami, headed by Engineer Abubakar, then United Sama Bagyao Association Incorporated, or USBA, chaired by Panglima Adim Ati, and the Region 9 and BARM groups or chapters of the MRRD and ECC. So, contrary to what others are claiming na may mga umaalis, siguro sa bawat isang umaalis o dalawang umaalis, there are thousands that replace them, no? And that's evident when Mayor Isko went to Cebu. And also, let me just note that yung mga nasa Visayas also who's helping out Mayor Isko downplayed when Nick Malasarte left, no? Sabi nga nila, to use the term by one of the conveners of Visa, sabi nila good riddance because they haven't seen Mr. Malasarte for a time. And let me also point out, and I think Amba here already said it a few days ago. I also said it in an interview with the Teleradyo. Kasi yung sinasabi nila Nick Malasarte that they wanna go because natatakot sila because of a Marcos return. Hindi naman po kasi yun ang overarching goal ng Isko Moreno campaign. Our goal is to help the Filipinos get out of this pandemic, the crisis that we are in. That's why we've been emphasizing that we need a crisis manager like Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso, who has proven that and done that in Manila. Hindi po ito usapin na naman ng Marcos at Bilao, no? So bumabalik naman tayo dun sa binary na narrative. Hindi po ito yung tunay na usapin. Ang usapin dito, yung interes ng mamamayang Pilipino at hindi yung interes ng ibang grupo o ng isang pamilya o dalawang grupo lamang. Yun lang. Thank you po.
Sa briefing na yung sa question and answer, limit nyo muna sa one major question, one follow-up question, and after nun, you can ask for the question. Yeah.
Hello, good morning. Can you just ask why you think Tanger's survey has different conclusion from the Constitution survey? What could be affecting that difference?
Yeah, Pulse Asia surveys are done through subcontractors. The field research is done by a subcontractor. Pulse Asia itself does not do the field research. They make the research design, which is the questionnaire, but the actual field work is done by a subcontractor. Okay, now number one. Number two, one reason why online polls became more indicative was because during the pandemic, it was almost impossible to come up with face-to-face surveys because of the lockdowns and because of the quarantine restrictions, no? But that has continued to the present, no? And that may explain the difference, no? In previous interviews, I've said also that there is the element of distrust, no? When you do when you do face-to-face surveys, no? Maraming natatakot because of the prevalence of bashing by online trolls, no? Paid trolls who, halimbawa, boboto ka kay BBM o kay Junior, titirahin ka naman nung Lenny Group or something, or vice versa. Yung masyadong ano. So, the possibility na hindi reliable yung sinasagot sa mga face-to-face surveys is well nigh possible, no? In fact, we have had reports of the subcontractor of the face-to-face the face-to-face subcontractors of research companies na binebend yung tanong in such a way na to elicit a desired answer, no? So that is why we have been using the online survey rather than the face-to-face survey. And ito ang lumalabas nga na data, no? Na it's not Vice President Robredo getting 20s in the 20s ba ano yung sa Pulse Asia, and we are getting 8 or something, no? But rather it's a real neck-to-neck fight between the two, no? Vis-a-vis the declining numbers, the slowly declining numbers of Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Just a quick follow-up. So the reports of that you heard of subcontractors saying that they sometimes change the question, are you saying this applies to Pulse Asia surveys?
Well, yun ang ginagamit na field research o field numerator ng Pulse Asia. In fact, I think Ronald Holmes in the February data research admitted that they use a subcontractor to do the research. Ang problema mo pa dyan, yung subcontractor nagsasubcontract pa din, no? So for instance, I am the contractor rather of Pulse Asia or SWS or whoever. May mga probinsya, lalo na yung mga island provinces na medyo malayo o medyo mahirap, sinasubcontract pa din yon. An example is, for instance, we found out that in Leyte, ang subcontractor was or the subcontractor that was utilized by this contractor, this field survey contractor, ang ginamit, mga empleyado ng isang city. City Hall employees. I won't mention the city in Leyte. So, natural, no? Kung City Hall employees of a somebody who's favoring Junior, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., pwedeng na-islant. I'm not saying conclusively na na-islant, but the possibility of the questions being slanted or skewed towards a desired answer is well nigh possible. No?
For Tanghero, because I read a bit on methodology, it seems they have a base of people who respond to their questionnaires, right? So,
About 659,000
So how
people.
do they know they are not asking the same people?
No,
How do they know it's random?
they double check that, no? And these are done randomly. Hindi naman the same people, no? They have 659,600 ba respondents all over the country in all the regions, no? All the provinces, and then these are randomly selected
Every time they do a survey.
every time they do a survey.
So they know these are real people.
Yeah.
The
Yes,
people who
these are
phone the
real
numbers,
people. They
the
have the
telephone
database on these people, their addresses, their cell phone numbers, etc. If you will take note, no, In the US presidential elections since 2016, where Trump defeated Clinton, and then in 2020, when Trump was defeated by Biden, the results were very fast, no? And even in the key states, no, yung mga key states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, overnight they had results, no? Because yung methodology is no longer face to face. Lalo na nung panahon na yon. Remember 2020 was a height of the pandemic in the US. So ang ginagamit was online surveys na, no? And the results were quite accurate in the sense na pati yung numbers na panalo ni Biden, for instance, in Pennsylvania vis-a-vis Trump were on the dot, no? The same thing in Georgia, I think. Georgia, Pennsylvania, and another state, Michigan, no? I was in ano kasi, that's why I noticed that myself. I was in quarantine at that time in Taiwan, so I had nothing to do except watch every hour, every ano, no, the CNN the CNN coverage of the election returns and the pre-election polls, no. And I noticed on the dot talaga, but all of these were done online.
Next question. Maris.
Sir, good morning. With regards to the report of subcontracting surveys, did you only learn about this now for this specific elections, or this has been done in previous elections already?
I think these were done in previous elections, no. But as far as I know, the company that is now being used, no, for field research or for field work is a new company, no, from employees of previous companies which closed down or which have transferred business, no. So the problem here is if not necessarily the company, but the field researchers that are used, no, have been influenced by a particular candidate with plenty of money. I'm not making an accusation right now. I'm just talking of possibilities, no.
If this has been the practice in the past, does it diminish the credibility of the survey?
No, in the past they were using some very reputable companies, no, who did consumer research. I think TNS. In 2010, at least, we were using. We knew that TNS. I do not know if there's still in the market, but TNS was the one that was being used for field work by SWS, and I don't know about Pulse. No. At that time, in 2010, during the Pinoy. And I remember that we went directly to TNS with our own research questionnaires. Senator Osmeña and I went directly to TNS to ask them to give the questionnaire. We designed it ourselves, and TNS was giving us very accurate data. No, that's why we knew by April of 2010. I remember I briefed the family of the late President Pinoy Aquino, and I told them that one, we're definitely winning this election. Two, ERAP will win over Villar. ERAP will be number 2, and Villar will be number 3. The family didn't believe me at that time and said, no, that it's still Villar. But I already saw from the data that it was going to be ERAP on second place, but a far second place from Pinoy. No.
Sir, so right now, is it just Pulse, which is using subcontractors for their surveys, or other survey companies as well?
It is possible.
Using?
It's possible that others. But I do not. We haven't seen lately as a SWS survey. No, what we've seen are commission surveys by strat base, if I'm not mistaken, of SWS. Pero yung non-commissioned, like the ulat ng bayan ng Palsasia, no, we haven't seen that from SWS of late.
So, but Tangere is not subcontracting. It's really going down on the field.
Yeah, I think they're partners with Manila Bulletin. They're partnering, or they are partners of Manila Bulletin, no? And they briefed us on this at our request. They briefed us on these surveys that they've done.
And just for enlightenment, sir, how long has Tangere been used as a survey
They
means
started,
for
they
presidential
started
elections?
2018, and the founder, in fact, is a TOYM awardee, no, for statistical measures. They started 2018, and they were doing basically consumer research. And it's only now that they started doing political research, or research on political candidacies.
In other words, what you're trying to say is that the methodology being used by Tangere is more credible than what others are using.
I'm not saying they're more credible. I'm just pointing out that they are quite credible, no? And they are more cost-effective actually than field, face-to-face surveys, especially at this time of a pandemic and the fallout of the pandemic.
Yes, sir. And vis-a-vis the things that you're seeing on the ground, for example, when you go out on campaign sorties, yung results po ba of the polls really reflect what you're seeing as compared to the Tangere? Yung comparison lang po
Yeah,
of the
they
survey
do
results.
not. What we're seeing from Pulse does not reflect what we're seeing on the ground. No, the ground reception. I think many of you have covered our field sorties, no, and you've seen the warmth. These are very organic. No, we do not bring people to our bring people to our rallies. In fact, we do not have big rallies for that matter, because we do not consider that to be cost effective. No, I mean, it costs a lot of money, but the correlation between voting and presence in campaign rallies where you have big time entertainers, no, does not correlate on a one-on-one basis, no. So to us, the numbers here are more akin to what we're seeing on the ground than the 24 and 8 or whatever. Ano yung 21 and 8 between Vice President Lenny and Mayor Isko Moreno.
PTB4.
Sir, good morning. Sir, kung pagpapasehan pa rin po itong Tangere, 48% si Bongbong Marcos, 24% si Mayor Isko. Medyo malayo pa rin po ano. And
Yeah.
ang election po, 1 month na lang po. Sa tingin ba natin habang papalapit yung election, kung kahit ito yung pagbasehan natin, mas ditikit pa rin po ba siya sa survey? And ano pa po yung dapat ninyong gawin po para po tumaas pa yung numero ni Mayor Isko?
Well, una, when you talk of 48, the difference between 48 and 24, let's round off the numbers, that's 24 points. So if you get 13 points additional for Mayor Isko, you defeat the 48. Now, you don't have to get 24 points, the difference. You get half of that, or more than half of that, and you win. So what we're saying is this is going to be a very, very close fight, assuming na walang aatras. No? Assuming na walang aatras, this is going to be very, very close. No? So it's up to Mayor Isko, no, to close that gap. Secondly, yan na nga, dyan na nga pumapasok yung issues, no? Because we've seen, for instance, that patingin mo yung bump chart. No? You see there that there has been a consistent decline from a high of 60, ano yan? 60 down to 48, no? From the January surveys, no? The ganon, no? So, but that does not necessarily mean that trend will follow na ganun lang, because at one point in time it could suddenly drop, no? This has happened in previous elections. Yung meron parang turning point, no? A turning point is reached and then there is a sudden drop. and there is a sudden surge on the part of another candidate. No? Although the correlation is not exact. Note that if you look at those who responded that the family of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. should pay their estate tax, if you try to correlate that, cross-reference it, lumalabas, 1/3 of his support now is really quite soft. This is probably the 1/3 na dinala ni Sara Duterte sa kanya by being his vice presidential candidate. So if you try to get 33% or 1/3 of 48%, no, you can pwede mo ma-attract yung 33% of 48%, no? So that if you deduct that, you're talking of about 29% ang hardcore support ni Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Now, so it's up to the other candidates to try to bring that down to 29%. If you bring that down to 29%, you could increase your numbers to higher than 29% to be able to win this particular election.
Next question. Yan TV. Good morning po, sir. Sir, just want to clarify yung question din ni Maris. With regard to, because you've compared initially yung methodology ng South Asia from Tangere, is it simply saying na mas accurate ang sa Tangere for this matter? Or?
I don't want to make that assertion. Definitely mas accurate ito kesa sa dun sa Pulse Asia, no? I'm just saying that from our point of view, no, and that is why we're quite confident about this. Kasi quick and turnaround, no? Kasi surveys are always a snapshot of a particular point in time, no? Pag ang survey mo, halimbawa, ginawa mo ng middle of March, are those numbers still accurate now? We're now talking April, ano ba yan? April 8, no? 3 weeks have passed. A lot of things happen in a campaign. It's a very dynamic setup, no? One particular issue can bring you down. I recall, for instance, no, that in the case of the 2016 run of Senator Grace Poe, she was hounded by the issue of the citizenship, the questions on her, on whether she was qualified as a natural-born citizen or not. Ano yun? That really took its toll. And even when the Supreme Court finally decided that she was qualified and she to run, no, hindi na bumalik. Yung ganun yun, no? There are times na parang you get to a particular turning point nga, tuloy-tuloy ang baba, hindi ka na makabawi, no? Ganun din yan, no? So there are so many elements that come into a presidential, lalo na presidential campaign, that changes people's minds quickly, no? And then yun na, hindi ka na makabawi.
Sir, my other question is, what do you think are the reasons for the switch of other supporters?
One, I think the 203 billion estate tax issue, which Chairman Ernest and the campaign team, including Mayor Isko, has brought about or brought to the attention of the public, even if the initial study was done by retired Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Di naman kami gumawa nun, no? I mean, we read it and we agreed with it. Then we sent letters to BIR and to PCGG who agreed with, or who conferred with our statements, no? So, ibig sabihin, and then even the President said, sisingilin niya. Secretary Dominguez said, sisingilin niya. So, nagkaroon ng traction yon, no? That is one possibility. The other element here is yung refusal to be interviewed, refusal to join debates, no? Nakaka-turn off yon to a certain segment of his initial voting base, no? So, yun yung nakikita natin ngayon. The other element na gusto ko lang i-follow through dito is, kasi right now, a lot of people are saying dapat mag-unite ang mga kandidatong kalaban ni Junior, no? Para matalo si Junior, no? What you see in the data here is yung boto ni Isko, ni Moreno, no, hindi pupunta kay Vice President Lenny. Yung boto niya, kung umatras siya, makipagsama, pupunta kay BBM or kay Marcos Jr. The bulk of it goes that way, no? Ganun din yung kay Pacquiao, no? Ganun din yung kay Ping Lacson, no? Because as we pointed out in one of the charts, no, mukhang malakas ang non-preference for Vice President Lenny Robredo as against the preference for Mayor Isko. No, yung least disliked candidate.
To add sa sinabi ni Amba, no? So kung makikita nyo rito sa same chart, no, na if Lenny is the one who's going to withdraw, 51% of her supporters are going to Mayor Isko. So while kung naman si Mayor Isko ang panawagan nga nila is for him to withdraw, only 17% will go to Lenny. In fact, it will strengthen more the Marcos candidacy, as gleaned from this survey.
Next question, PTB5.
Sir, yung tungkol lang po sa sinabi ni Senator Amy Marcos, tungkol po sa 203 billion na wala po silang natanggap na mga demands sa unpaid taxes. Your reaction on that now, sir?
One, ignorance of the law does not excuse anyone, no? I mean, that the mere fact na umabot sila sa Supreme Court, nag-Court of Appeal sila, then Supreme Court, alam nila na buhay yung kaso. Pangalawa, the BIR has already certified na they sent notices, the last notice being December 2, 2021. So, paano namang hindi nila matatanggap, no? Obviously naman, may address sila, no? O kung pinadala by registered mail, that is considered received once there is a registered mail notice.
Follow-up question? Pia?
So are you saying, sirs, that if withdrawal yung strategy, in fact, the better withdrawal based on your data is not for Isko to withdraw, but for Lenny to withdraw because Isko is able to capture more voters and is the least objectionable among all of them?
Yes, and he is the second choice preference of all other candidates, whether it is Bongbong or Ping or Pacquiao or even Lenny herself.
Are you making that call today? Is that a formal call?
No. We cannot make that call. No? I'm just trying to explain na yung sinasabi na it's down to a two-way contest is absolutely false. No, it is a three-way contest.
And then I just noticed the date of the last Tanghir survey. It's April 6th, the same day as Pulse Asia came out. Was this coincidence or was it timed to appear with the Pulse Asia release?
No, April 6 was when they brought out their March survey, which was, I think, March 17 to 17 or...
So April 6 is when they conducted.
When they conducted it. Kasi online mabilis. No? And they explained to us that the reason they did this was they wanted to test yung impact nung debate. The last debate, which was April 3, if I'm not mistaken. April 3 ba yan? Sunday?
But they decided to hold it on April 6th. Not because Pulse Asia was released on that day. I mean, I just want to get an understanding.
No. They wanted to test kung ano ang impact ng debate. And you will notice that tumaas si Isko by 3 percentage points yata. No? 2 percentage points after the debate, no? Pero yung kay Junior, statistical tie naman yon, parang stable. In fact, if you look deeper at the data, 2/3 of those who voted or preferred Ferdinand Marcos Jr., did not even bother to watch the debate. Kung paano yun yung solid talaga, wala na silang pakialam. No matter what, they will vote for him. No? I mean, that of course is inference, no, rather than fact. No? So yun yung lumalabas, si Isko Moreno did well during the debate, and that's why he had that 2% increase on the basis of, kasi difference March 31 and April 6 eh. 1 week lang na difference.
Aside from the fact that Pulse Asia uses subcontractors, what makes you think a mobile survey is more accurate than a face-to-face?
Not necessarily more accurate, no, aside from what I've mentioned
Credible.
kanina, but it's more immediate ang result sa iyo eh. Kasi nga the difference between March 17 and April 6 is about 3 weeks, 'di ba? So yung how fast or how dynamic the change in voter preferences are, especially during the latter part of a campaign, is very important to take note of. Mabilis ang palitan ng isip dyan. No?
So, sir, you're saying that this is the latest survey na meron. Ito yung
Yun yung alam naming latest. I do not know if other companies did a survey at about the same time.
Next question from Raya Capulong.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Sir, sorry, just a clarification. Independent po itong group na ito, no one, but whose initiative is this?
They do periodic surveys na eh. Kasi nga, I think they have a tie-up with Manila Bulletin. So I don't know when they're going to bring this out sa Bulletin. We just found out that they had, and we asked that we be briefed. No, we be briefed. And they gave us this briefing yesterday afternoon.
Okay. Sir, sinabi niyo po kanina, and even po sa mga past interview ni Yorme, sabi niya, ang tunay na labanan ay wala sa survey. So, ano po ngayon yung magiging, kumbaga nasa face-to-face yung pagpunta mismo doon sa lugar. And now, sir, ano po ngayon yung magiging relevance na nung survey nito? Or,
Well, the relevance of this, of course, at the end of the day,
Do you believe now
lahat
in
dinidesisyon na
power
sa
of
May
survey?
9, hindi naman ngayon, no? So what we're saying lang is, yung frame na parang insurmountable na yung numbers ni Ferdinand Marcos Jr. as in, wala na, tapos na eleksyon. I mean, you've read and seen so many commentators as well as columnists saying, tapos na eleksyon, di ba? Panalo na si Marcos Jr. Or, the other contention being na, dalawa na lang ang naglalaban, no? Is belied by the numbers here. And that's the same thing that we are seeing on the ground, on the field, no? Yun ding mga endorsements ng politicians, for instance, no? I just like to remind you, no, that Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte hardly had any politician endorsing him until 2 weeks before the election, no? I mean, nung nakita na nila na talagang meron ng surge, no? At the beginning, all we had were the politicians from Davao. Not nobody else was with the Mayor Duterte nung umpisa, no? So yung mga endorsement ng politicians, that they do not really matter as much, no? Because at the end of the day, it's the voter, no, in the secrecy of his of the precinct who makes the decision.
Next question.
Sir Lito, meaning to say, itong mga surveys na to is a mind conditioning po ba sa mga voters? Does this surveys dictates their decision making?
Well, it depends kasi on the maturity of the electorate, no? In more mature democracies, especially where you have a two-party system, which is why I keep hammering out the idiocy of this multi-party system in a presidential form of government, no? That hindi talaga magkabagay, no? In more mature democracies and with an electorate that is more shall we say more mature, no? Hindi nako-condition yung mind ng mga surveys, no? Pero dito sa Pilipinas talaga yung bandwagon effect, no? Especially created by an early bandwagon effect, no, which is not normal in previous elections. Yung kaya nga sinasabi ko na posibleng nako-corrupt yung field workers, no? by a very moneyed candidate, no, who can do it and who sees na if you create a bandwagon early enough, the perception will be panalo na sila. And I dispute that, no.
Last question. Maris.
Sir, so, pardon me, I just have to ask this question. So having said that, don't you just give more credence to this Tangere survey just because it favors your candidate?
It's not that we're giving it more credence because it favors my or our candidate. No, it's not that. It's because the conditions or the political environment that we are in right now, coming fresh from a pandemic, as well as reports reaching us na nakokorrupt nga yung numerators, as I call the numerators sa field, no, tend to show na parang kinokondisyon nga yung mind ng tao na wala nang eleksyon, tapos na eleksyon, panalo na si Ferdinand Marcos Jr., no, by an early bandwagon, which we dispute nga na, no, and which this survey shows na kaya pa. And if you will look at the previous surveys, the pre-filing of certificates of candidacy, tingnan nyo yung mga October, September surveys, hindi ba noon nauuna si Sara? At number 2, in some surveys, number 2 si Isko, number 3 si Bongbong, or pag ganon, no? Pero nakita nyo na nung pumasok si Sara, that's why it was very, very important for Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to inveigle Mayor Inday Sara to be his vice presidential candidate. Kasi yung Mindanao nag-swing eh. No? Admittedly, Mindanao is Duterte territory, no? And parts of Visayas. So nag-swing talaga yung kay Marcos eh. Whereas before, if you look at the surveys prior to the matchup, mababa si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Mindanao. Talagang yung pagkakakuha niya o pagkakapagpapayag niya kay Mayor Inday Sara ang nagbigay sa kanya ng Mindanao. And that is seen in all the surveys.
And when you mentioned a while ago, sir, that somehow in the Pulse Asia survey, since it is being subcontracted, somehow some questions are being skewed to favor certain candidates. How sure are you that in this particular survey in Tangere, questions are not skewed at all to influence or to influence the respondents to favor a certain candidate as well?
Kasi this is not done on a face-to-face basis eh. This is online eh. No? So quick answers. It's the horse race and just a few questions and that's it. No? So that's the reason why the numbers may have been quite different.
And one last clarification, sir. As compared to Tangere, where the results show that the second preferred candidate is really Yorme or Mayor Isko Moreno, as compared to the Pulse, medyo malayo pang third po, no? Ang second preference is Lenny. How do we, or at least
even in
siya yung nag-number
Pulse,
two?
in Pulse, ang second choice is always Isko.
All right.
From all surveys, all companies, second choice si Isko. Ibig sabihin, kung for one reason or not, hindi tumakbo o hindi natuloy yung pagtakbo ng first choice mo, ang second choice mo si Isko. Or, for one reason, halimbawa, nagpalit ka ng isip, no? I mean, through the dynamics of the campaign, nagpalit ka ng isip, pag nagpalit ka ng isip, si Isko ang magiging second choice mo, imbis na ibang kandidato. That's what the second choice preference means.
Thank you, sir.
No more question. Thank you very much. Meron tayong lunch dyan sa Media Center.
Secretary Guevara pala yung 200 billion pesos. Kay Secretary Guevara po na yung sinabi ko kay Secretary Guevara na dati siyang yung law firm parang hindi na sila makapagsabi or kung ma-confirm kung natanggap ba ng family Marcos.